This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
I'm Stephen A.
Yeah, what is the world coming to when Adnan Virk can fill in for the Dan Lebitard Show on a Friday and then the Stephen A. Smith Show on a Monday? It means we're taking on water. It means summer is here, and I'm thrilled to be with all of you. And the best news I can tell you is my guy Ryan Hollins is in the house. If you don't know Ryan's work, you better be aware of it. He's on Twitter. He's on Instagram. We're following each other right now. We're going to have a great time today talking plenty of NBA conversation. Not only where is LeBron going to go, we'll mix in a little baseball talk. Julian Edelmanâ right now is trying to go at the NFL with regards to the 4-game suspension. And Hollins has a crazy flight story as well. How are you, my man? Great to be with you.
Oh, man, I'm doing good, brother. Hey, listen, man, they put me on with my doppelganger this show. Come on, Adnan. Hey, man, are we not brothers from another mother? Like, I look at you and I just see myself in a much smaller form and body. Come on, man.
I love it.
Twins.
It's like the Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Twins. Always looking to move with each other. This is going to be a ton of fun today.
Gosh.
ESPN Radio, hit us up. We'll take some calls at some point, although we have so much to get to. I'm not sure how many calls we'll be able to squeeze in, but like I said, we're going to have a ton of fun right now, plenty of NBA conversation. And let me tell you this, when a player doesn't like a contract, they hold out, right? Well, with Straight Talk Wireless, you never have to because there is no contract, and they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless, only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com. So it's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins here with you on the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. And what else are we going to talk about, Hollins? But LeBron. The watch continues. Is he going to make a move this week? We'll go through all the aspects of it, but here's what you need to know. First and foremost, he has until Friday to pick up his $35.6 million player option with the Cavaliers and is yet to decide what he'll do. But sources tell ESPN he has no intention of hearing elaborate pitch meetings from teams, meaning he might meet or speak with a club official or owner at some point, but the elaborate presentations that have become common in NBA free agency, as our own Ramona Shelburne said, that's become unnecessary for him after 15 seasons in the league. So it's time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts. LeBron, let's start here, Ryan. Do you think he stays with Cleveland?
No, he's gone, man. I mean, like, is this a serious question? Okay, let me break this down as simple as, look, Cleveland was good. We talked about 3 takeaways I'll give you in short. Unfinished business. He took care of his business in Cleveland. 3 or 4 straight finals, 1 championship. He gave Cleveland all that and then some. A family decision. Come on, man. They don't want to be in the cold weather. You got to get out. You got to get out. You know, I've been telling people for a long time it's going to be the Lakers, and it just makes complete sense. Listen, Adnan, when I look at what LeBron James has done, and everybody keeps saying, "Oh, this is going to be his smooth ride to the East." When did the greatest player of all time ever want easy? When did a guy that's that good ever want an easy way? That's what confuses me, that he has to stay in the Eastern Conference. And if you hadn't seen anything from what LeBron James proved to you this season, if you hadn't noticed anything from the playoffs, from him single-handedly amidst chaos, one of the greatest regular and postseasons that we have ever witnessed of all time, and unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of people who hadn't even noticed or understood it. If he comes to a Lakers, if he moves to another organization, he's going to have a strong chance to be successful. And if he ends up loading up with the Paul George, possibly Paul and Kawhi, if the chips align the right way, they can knock off the Warriors and be NBA champs. And it's really not as far-fetched as people once thought it would be. And then I want to throw this at you, man, because in 10 years I competed against LeBron. He was the big dog in the league. And I want to tell you, he was a top 5 player then. And what I saw from LeBron now is a new guy. That's not the same guy that I played against who owned the league. He's LeBron 2.0, Adnan. He's actually better. He's making plays. And then if you answer to me this, please.
Yes.
If we asked what LeBron couldn't do, didn't he do everything that we said he couldn't do this offseason?
No question.
Playoffs run.
Yeah, you're right. Because at this point you go, well, and I don't want to use that word, but people were starting to say maybe he's entering the twilight of his career. You know, maybe it's now LeBron winding down. Winding down? He was winding up. He had the best season of his career for 15 years. So I'm with you on that. Listen, I don't think it's Cleveland just because there's not enough talent there, right? I mean, why are you going to stay? And I'm not trying to hate on Cleveland. I'm not trying to hate on the fact that he went back there and won them a championship. That's awesome. I get that that's home is where the heart is. But ultimately, man, you're right. We saw it. We saw it firsthand. There just wasn't enough of a collection of talent around him. However, give me this. LeBron's not just going to jump just because he wants to leave Cleveland. It's not like he has acrimony towards Cleveland, but if he can see a better situation, why wouldn't he leave? If you're an employee and you have a better situation in another company, wouldn't you jump somewhere else? Same thing with LeBron. And that's why I do think he's going to go, but I don't think it's, hey, I'm mad at Dan Gilbert. I'm hating Cleveland. It's just, let's see what's out there. All right, let's do this. Let's go through each one because this is where it gets fascinating because everybody starts to say, which is the one, who's the handicapper? Vegas odds are changing. Let's go L.A. first. I have a tough time buying L.A. only for this, Ryan. If he wants to win.
Are you kidding me?
No, listen. If he wants to win.
Don't do this.
If he wants to win, that's not the best place to go. They're not going to win tomorrow, all right? If Paul George leaves OKC and then you got two stars, it's him and LeBron, okay. Maybe Kawhi, we all know, wants to leave San Antonio, wants to get traded to the Lakers. Now we got your super team. But if LeBron just goes solo, if he doesn't get assurances from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard that they're going to be in Los Angeles, do you really think he'd be willing to go to LA on his own? All of a sudden, that's a number 7, number 8 seed. You're hoping for an upset in the first round. You're not chasing rings then.
Adnan.
Yeah.
What was the final push? Let me see if you remember this. What was the final push for Paul George to finally get traded? Do you remember what came out, what kind of broke finally? Because there was always rumblings. Do you remember what that final push was, my man?
I don't know if I can recall. Can you give me a little reminder?
Paul George had to come out. He had to come out and verbally say, I want to play for the Lakers. He actually voiced his camp. And PG is my guy. You got to think he's also a LA guy, and he verbalized to the Pacers who did not want to let him go. Paul and his company and Aaron Mintz and them have done a fine job and just said, you know what? We're going to go about this the right way, guys. We're not happy. We want to get out. We want to move on. Maybe give us a sign and trade. Maybe work things out, but I want to get out of this situation. I want to go. And then finally he has to voice out and say, hey, send me to the Lakers. And at that point, it got so apparent to the Pacers that they had to move him. And now, Paul George, he had to pull back a little bit and commit to his team because as a player, you don't want to be talking about another team or another organization while you're in the season. I love Russ. I love what's going on. Yeah, there's a chance I could stay. You don't want to start a fire. As a player, your mindset is to diffuse. And my man Adnan, I know your mindset is to spark the fires, man. So that's what Paul George has let you know. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? Didn't he say that or did he not? You remember this.
I do remember that, and I do agree that if I'm Paul George, I think L.A. would be a more tantalizing option than Oklahoma City for a variety of reasons. And I'm with you. If LeBron gets George to commit as well, then that makes things different. So L.A., we're definitely seeing his input. And of course, if LeBron wants to set up life after basketball there, obviously the movies, TV shows, great and train wreck, etc., I can totally get why that could be the spot. Adnan Virk, Ryan Hollins. Thank you. The Stephen A. Smith Show right now at ESPN Radio. Go ahead.
You know why I'm telling you thank you? Because I had an argument with Golick and Wingo, and they're both telling me that LeBron James is this. Yeah, my boy Jay from Compton also. That's like my brother. We talk every day. And LeBron James is such a big enough name. He doesn't need the Lakers to be big. Let me tell you something, man. If you bring LeBron James, pair him with Magic Johnson, and the Los Angeles Lakers, it's going to be something so monumental that the league has never, ever witnessed. You're talking about LeBron James not just being the biggest name in basketball, but becoming a world entity. The things that he can do and the lives that he can touch, because Adnan, if we're not mistaken, LeBron understands that it's much more than basketball. He represents much more than himself. And the best place for him to help others, to help young generations of young ballers and kids and that grew up just like him and that need to help and that are reaching out and want to have a touch of LeBron, can he not do that best in Los Angeles? Come on, Adnan. Come with me, brother.
Let's hear what Bobby Marks has to say. ESPN NBA front office insider. We love Marks. He was talking on SportsCenter with Doug Kazarian. This is what Bobby had to say about the chances the Lakers have to land LeBron.
They've got the clearest path to LeBron James based on cap space. They would have to renounce their own free agents, which would be Isaiah Thomas, Brooke Lopez, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. That would get them $46 million in room. And after that, it would based on James to pick a teammate. Chris Paul, Paul George, and the Lakers could get to that $65 million slot. It would cost them Julius Randle, who's a restricted free agent, and they would also have to stretch the $37 million to Luol Deng. But the Lakers are in a prime position right now, Doug, to go out and get not just James, but another teammate for him.
All right, so LeBron, we do feel like that has some serious legs to go to Los Angeles. How about San Antonio? He's never had an elite coach to play for, Ryan. All of a sudden, he can go play for the best in Greg Popovich. Complicating matters is the Kawhi Leonard situation, the fact he has told management he wants out, doesn't want to be there. LeBron to San Antonio. You get Pop, you get LaMarcus Aldridge, you get a chance to go at the Warriors in the West. What are the odds you think he goes to the Spurs?
Let me tell you something. I'm going to spell this out, man. If you are a true hooper, if you are a true fan of the game, I'm not talking about the dunks and the threes and like you're a true fan of the game, detail-oriented fan, love a basketball junkie, basketball insider, you wouldn't love anything more than watching the greatest player of all time in LeBron James match up with the greatest coach of all time in Greg Popovich. There's no way that you would not want to see what LeBron would look like with the best system at hand. I mean, just a fine work of art. There's no way you wouldn't want to see that. There's no way as a baller. We saw Chris Paul do this in free agency. We've seen LaMarcus actually commit. And every number of guys always going to take a sniff at San Antonio because of the product that they put on the floor. Pop has shown us that he can win with less, and he will not be out-coached. Maybe he won't have the talent, but he won't be out-coached. Unfortunately.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I was waiting for the but. This is what Pop's about. Here's why it ain't going to happen, Hollins. What do you got?
You remember the last great coach that LeBron was with, an organization, GM, whatever you want to call it? Remember that last guy, that Hall of Famer? You remember that Hall of Famer down in Miami? You know who I'm talking about?
I think you're talking about your boy Blatt, but yes, Pat Riley was
the great Pat Riley. Listen, you know what Pat Riley did? And I got to credit Pat Riley because we got to keep this a buck. LeBron didn't know how to win, not a championship. LeBron himself couldn't do it. Pat Riley, Wade, and Spo and those guys, they gave LeBron the serum. They say, hey, LeBron, this is how you do it. You play some defense, you play hard, we move the ball, you trust your teammates, you get in the rim, you make plays, you're a monster at the rim. You can win a championship like that. And LeBron said, Pat, thank you. Oh, Dwayne Wade, thank you. This is how you close games out? I know the secret now. Guess what? I'm going to go back to my hometown and do it. And you know what, Pat? I love you. I know you're going to be upset at me. I know one day we're going to sit back on the beach on a banana boat, me and you, Pat Riley, and we're going to understand why this thing happened the way that it happened. But you know what? I got to move on. And guess what? You know what? Cleveland, thank you. I paid off my boys Tristan and JR. We brought Corver on. You spent for me, and you're talking about Dan Gilbert. Dan Gilbert, you telling me what you spent for me, but look, Dan Gilbert, look what I delivered to you. Because championships aren't guaranteed. I gave you something, Dan. It's time to move on. Oh, L.A.? Hey, Adnan, I've been working in L.A. radio for the last couple of years. That's where I started. Mm-hmm. And we've been talking about LeBron James to L.A. for some amount of time. And Los Angeles is in a prime position because they let everybody go. The cap is wide open. Everybody can walk other than Lonzo, Ingram, and those guys can be traded for Kawhi. LeBron, you're not just one of the greatest players of all time. You're the greatest businessman of all time. And you know what you need to succeed. And guess what? You got a guy named Magic Johnson who's not going to take less. Magic Johnson will not accept anything less than a championship. You saw what he did with the Dodgers. Hold on, did I just say what Magic Johnson did with the Dodgers? And you don't think he has a plan to get to the NBA Finals? Come on, man. Oh.
All right, so we're ruling out San Antonio. We can already take care of the Spurs. How about this is the one I really like. Adnan Virk, Ryan Hollins. Right now we're aiming for Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. Philadelphia, my man. You got Ben Simmons. You have Joel Embiid. You've already got young stars and a core there. You're still in the East. You weaken Cleveland by going to Philadelphia. All you have to worry about is the Celtics and Brad Stevens. The Raptors, we know, and I'm from Toronto. They're a disappointment. The Raptors always stink, and they're going to have the coach of the year now in Detroit. So Philadelphia, you go to Philly, you cruise through the East, and then LeBron's totally fresh to go after Golden State. Why not Philadelphia?
I just threw up in my mouth. Are you kidding me? You want LeBron in Philadelphia? You don't think LeBron is looking at Ben Simmons and saying, Ben Simmons, you're more worried about kicking it and hanging it. And Ben Simmons, you don't want to be great. And everybody can say, oh, Ben Simmons, you didn't take a three-pointer. It wasn't your stronghold. You know what? Great players will find a way to be great. I would rather Ben Simmons shoot 50 to 100 air balls and learn how to shoot a three-pointer rather than taking none, rather than not even trying. And you think LeBron James is going to go and play alongside Ben Simmons? You got to tailor the offense. You got to put 5 shooters around Ben Simmons right now for him to be successful. He's great at what he does, but he doesn't want to be great. And you tell me how he and LeBron James would be on the floor at the same time. Are you kidding me?
Listen, I've heard that, Hollins. Listen, I've heard that argument. Listen, great players are always willing to adapt. They're always willing to adapt. If Simmons needs the ball in his hands, LeBron can play off the ball. Remember when the Rockets made the move for Chris Paul and everyone said, how can you have Chris Paul and James Harden, 2 guys who always need to have the ball in their hands on the court? Mike D'Antoni figured it out. One off the bench, one plays off the ball, etc. You could work that out, right? Simmons and LeBron between each other?
No, hey, it's gonna be a mess. And Nuno, I hope you're in the back somewhere shaking your head, Nuno, because I'm upset at you too. That's my man who's working the boys back there doing his thing. It's not even realistic. It's not realistic. And then you hinder Ben Simmons. That's not the process.
Do you think Ben Simmons is a deterrent to LeBron? That's actually a detriment to him signing there. An excellent young player who could be the rookie of the year. LeBron would not want to go because of him. That's what you're telling me?
He can't wait. And guess what? LeBron can't move him. You're not trading him. He's not going anywhere. You can't work around him. You got to work with him. He's not enough of an asset to bring LeBron James. And not to mention, you got that dog. You got the best center in the NBA in Joel Embiid. So you're going to put him on the three-point line? What are we doing here? Come on, Adnan. It's not happening. This is not happening, brother. He ain't going to Philly. I threw up in my mouth when you said it, and I'm throwing up again. I don't trust the process. It's bad for basketball.
Brian Colangelo, come on. BC will get a burner account going. He'll find a way to lure LeBron. Even though he's no longer there, he'll make LeBron there. All right, one more.
Did he slide in some DMs? I wonder if he slid in some DMs during the time.
All right.
Oh, my God.
One more. Houston. Now, Houston would take a lot of work. They got to say goodbye to CP3. They have to get rid of Capella. They have to get rid of Ryan Anderson. The money would be tough to work. But could you imagine, Ryan, you are LeBron James. You can play with James Harden. You can play for D'Antoni. Again, a great coach who is player-friendly, who is one of the great offensive innovators of our time. And then that's the team that took the Warriors to 7 games, and the last 2 games did not have Chris Paul. LeBron to Houston. I know it's a little tricky with the numbers, but is that tantalizing for LBJ?
So, for one, you got to take your hats off to Houston because they understood something that a lot of teams don't know. When you get a player like James Harden, who is as great as he is, who is dynamic, he's a once-in-a-generational type player, you don't know if tomorrow is promised, and they went after it this year. They came a game away from winning the NBA championship because they would have beat Cleveland. And they loaded up, and they went for it now. But guess what that does? It leaves out LeBron in the next year. They don't have the cap space. They would have to trade and move so many assets right now that it wouldn't work. And CP3 doesn't have 2 hamstrings. So you tell me how that's going to work, okay? It's not happening. It ain't working. He ain't going to Houston.
If it was LeBron, Harden, and Chris Paul, it would be 2.5 men. That's what you're trying to tell me at this point. That's what you're trying to tell me at this point.
And the problem is, you would have to move we're talking Eric Gordon gone, PJ Tucker, Trevor Ariza not signing back, everything that made those guys special. And now you put the load on those 3 guys, it wouldn't work. So they got to roll with what they had. But listen to me. I love what Houston did because they need it now.
It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
Next, you're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins in for Stephen A. Smith today on ESPN Radio. You know when something's so obvious they call it a no-brainer? Well, here's a big one. Barbasol is finally making razors, introducing the Barbasol Ultra 6 Plus. It's got 6 ultra-thin blades for a close, comfortable shave. You can go to Barbasol.com right now and save some money. That's a no-brainer, too. Coming up around 10-15 minutes from now, we'll get into Chris Paul and why he could be leaving the Houston Rockets. But right now, let's turn our attention towards the NBA awards, Mr. Hollins. Tonight, there's 3 categories you really care about. All due respect to Defensive Player of the Year, Most Improved, Sixth Man of the Year. Bah. Let's go to the biggie. MVP, James Harden, LeBron, or Anthony Davis. Before I get your take, I want to give you a couple credentials on each. Harden was the scoring champion. He averaged 30.4 points per game, led the Rockets, franchise record, 65 wins. LeBron, 4 MVPs in his career, 1 away from becoming the 4th player to win 5 or more MVPs, along with names like Michael Jordan, Bill Russell, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And Anthony Davis, highlight of his season, he recorded 53, 18 boards, 5 blocks. That was February 26th. Only Bob McAdoo has done that. 50 points, 15 rebounds, and 5 blocks in a game. Remember, DeMarcus Cousins went down, Boogie went down, AD went up. Really picked up his production. He led all players in points per game and blocks per game since January 28th. Hey, congrats, AD. It's either Harden or LeBron. For me, it's LeBron. Who's your MVP, Ryan?
Oh, I'm glad you got some sense. It's LeBron James. I don't want to say that it's not close because Harden. I mean, Harden had a special year. But you got to tell me, Adnan, because I'm confused with a lot of people that say James Harden, when the best player, let me emphasize that, the best player in the league shows up and plays 82 games and takes care of business, how is he not just the best in the league, but the most valuable player in the entire league? If you match James Harden and LeBron James wins one-on-one 10 out of 10 times. He played 82 games and amidst chaos. See, James Harden, I love what he did, but he didn't work in chaos. He didn't carry, literally on his shoulders, on his back, carry his team to the NBA Finals. And, of course, they weren't the number 1 seed. I understand. They didn't achieve what the Rockets as a team did. You want to call them the best regular season team? I'm fine with that. But as a player, James Harden did not do what LeBron James did this season.
I'm with you. Amen, man. Listen, Harden was unbelievable, a scoring machine, but what happens with LeBron is people get accustomed to greatness. It's why Shaquille O'Neal only won 1 regular season MVP. People just go, yeah, he's great, but what else is there out there? It's like having that favorite ice cream, chocolate chip cookie dough. Well, how about some other flavors? No, LeBron's the guy. Don't complicate things. I'm with you. He should get it. Rookie of the Year, I think, is the one that is fascinating, though, because all due respect to Jason Tatum, it really feels like Ben Simmons or Donovan Mitchell. And that was a conversation throughout the year. Which one do you like better? Simmons, strong rookie campaign. Sixers won 50 games. Only 7 players in NBA history have won Rookie of the Year in the same season their team won at least 50. By the way, Tatum and the Celtics won 55. But Donovan Mitchell's my guy, Ryan. 8th rookie to average 20 points per game on a 45-win team. 6th the previous 7 won Rookie of the Year. I'm not even getting into the fact of the conversation about Simmons being a second-year rookie. I'm just telling you straight up, I'm riding with Donovan Mitchell. What he did for Utah, he was unbelievable.
Man, I want to make this statement before I say what I'm going to say, because for a fact, Ben Simmons is a baller. I love him. He's going to be an all-star. He's going to be a star in this league for years to come. And this draft was so stacked, and I don't even know if I can put him in that draft class because he was the year before, but nonetheless, rules are rules, okay? He's eligible. He's not the 3rd best player in this race. Jason Tatum's better. Donovan Mitchell right now is better. Donovan Mitchell may be one of the most complete. When I say complete, we're talking about you check off all the boxes: 3-point shooting, playmaking ability. Can he play off the ball? Does he understand basketball? Was he exciting? Did he win? Donovan Mitchell this year checked off all the boxes, and Ben Simmons got his real hype at the end of the season against some of the worst teams in Let me repeat that. At the end of the season, statistically, they played one of the lightest schedules in basketball. Every team was throwing games, okay? They were throwing games, trying to get a high take, getting a high pick, going after the Luka Doncic of the words, going after the DeAndre Aidens. They were trying to lose, and Ben Simmons showed out. Now, it's not his fault. Granted, I understand that. But that's when he went off, and that's when that fool's gold started to arise. Keep in mind, Ben Simmons is a baller. He's just not the rookie of the year. And Adnan, I know we look alike, brother, but you are agreeing with everything I'm saying. I think real recognize real right now.
Well, let's try to get some dissension with the last one I want to touch on, which is Coach of the Year. Dwayne Casey led the Raptors, franchise record 59 wins, top seed in the East, and then he got fired in May. 3 men have won Coach of the Year and not returned to coach the team, that same team, the next season. George Karl did that with the Nuggets, 2012-2013. Pat Riley with the Lakers back in 89-90. And your boy Dolph Schayes back in 65-66 with the Sixers. Just for some history, this has happened before. Of course, Casey is now the coach of the Pistons. Now, Brad Stevens and the Celtics won 55 games, despite the fact he had Gordon Hayward for all of 5 minutes, and Kyrie Irving went down in March. You got Horford, you got Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, and Stevens gets 55 wins out of these guys, trying to become the 4th ever in franchise history to win that award. And the honorable mention goes to Quinn Snyder. Utah had 48 wins a season after they lost Gordon Hayward. Congrats, Coach Snyder. But Stevens or Casey, who you got? Because I'm telling you, I can't give it to Dwayne Casey when they got bounced in the playoffs. Listen, I'm going with Brad Stevens. He did more with less. Yep.
But this is not a playoff award.
I know,
but if it was
a
playoff award, it's a no-brainer. You got to take out your bias right now. You got to lose your bias, Adnan. I can't believe you.
This is why I don't like that they do the awards after the playoffs and say, don't take the playoffs into consideration. How could you not take the playoffs into consideration?
Oh, my gosh. Well, we do take the playoffs into consideration. You know what? Let's be honest. Let me break this down to you.
Sure.
As a NBA head coach right now in the NBA, you quite possibly have the worst position in basketball. And I'm not talking about the paycheck. I'm talking about in regards to just doing your job. Why? Why do I say that, Adnan? Because we play in a league where the players have more control. The GMs control who you coach with. And the president might control if you're supposed to win or lose. And when they tell you to lose and you lose, you could get fired anyways. And then when you win, you could get fired anyways. I don't know what a good job is for a coach. Are you a politician? I'm confused. So you see guys like Doc Rivers, like Stan saying, you know what? If I'm going to go down, at least I'm going to go down my way. I had a talk with Coach Byron Scott when I played for him in Cleveland, before I played for him, and this was post-LeBron. And Coach Scott let me know when they fire me, if they let me know, you know what, I'm going to sleep good because I know I did it my way. And that's really all you can expect as a head coach. So I'm confused here. I'm confused. But I'm taking him for Coach of the Year and Brad Stevens for the Coach of the Playoffs, Adnan, if we do that, which you're trying to award him right now.
I like it. You're finding a way to subvert the system. I like that. 1-888-SAY-ESPN, 1-888-729-3776. If you got a hot take on Coach of the Year, you think it should be Quinn Snyder, call us up, let us know. ESPN Radio.
I did not say, don't call here with no Quinn Snyder talk, man.
I want one of those. I want one Quinn Snyder vote.
Oh, my God.
ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive's Home Insurance. Get your quote at Progressive.com today. It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins. Coming up next on the Stephen A. Smith Show, Chris Paul going to stay in Houston? Maybe, maybe not. We'll dive into that next on ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
30 for 30 podcasts have returned. Subscribe to 30 for 30 podcasts right now on the Listen tab of the ESPN app or on Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Try it for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/30. It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins in for Stephen A. today on ESPN Radio. Chris Paul, you're thinking Of course, he's going to stay in Houston, right? 5 years, $205 million, $41 million a year. Well, not so fast, my friend. He's 33 years of age, obviously has battled injuries, missed a pivotal Game 6 and Game 7 of the Western Conference Final against the Golden State Warriors, and there's some thought that maybe he could roll. Chris Broussard, of course, great friend of us here at ESPN, now works at Fox Sports 1. He said, from what I'm told, there is tension now between Houston and Chris Paul. And Bruce said, I think CP3 remains in Houston, but it's not all hunky-dory. Ryan, you buying the fact that this is not exactly an easy decision to say CP3, here's $205 million?
Of course, it's not an easy decision. And you brought out his age earlier. Now, let me give you some cons. Before we talk about the good stuff, let me give you some cons, okay? Mm-hmm. He's got the injuries. This isn't the same Chris Paul that we remember in New Orleans. The Chris Paul in New Orleans, who I played against, was the pick and roll. He literally changed the game the way that we ran the pick and roll. And he was a guy who you could put the ball in his hands and he would give you a stat line about 35 points, 17 assists, and 9 steals every single night, game after game after game. Then my man Byron Scott, with all due respect, ran his knees off, okay? Chris Paul wasn't the same Chris Paul after that. I was with him with the Clippers. He balled out and he played well. Now, on the positive side, even though injured, even though he's not going to play a full 82 games, he's going to miss some significant time because that body of Chris Paul's, who's still a normal human being, he's not LeBron James, is not going to last the same way. But when I watched Chris Paul this playoffs, he wasn't the guy. He wasn't my former teammate. He was the guy who actually got better. Chris Paul was always a mid-range shooter. Chris Paul now developed the deep three. And not just developed the deep three, he shot it at a high clip, a high efficient clip off the bounce. Now, where Chris Paul fell into problems is that when you play against the Golden State Warriors, and hear me on this, Adnan, you can't hide. Whoever you guard on the floor, you're going to have to chase them. You're going to have to move them. And they make you play a whole lot faster than you like to play. And he can't last at that pace. And not to mention, if they want a shot at LeBron, Chris can't take that same type of money. So they're still keeping those options open. And Chris wants to get this deal done as soon as he can. I think that's the best point you make is the last one. If they think they can get LeBron and if there's part ways with Chris Paul, then that's a move you have to make, right? Yeah, I mean, no brainer. I mean, the whole NBA is going to wait until LeBron James make his decision. So unfortunately, Paul George and the rest of the guys, they're just going to have to sit tight. We'll see what happens with regards to Chris Paul and the Rockets. Coming up next hour on the Stephen A. Smith Show, we'll talk more about LeBron James' potential suitors. Also, Kawhi Leonard, Bruce Bowen, some tough talk for the Spurs star. Carmelo Anthony staying put with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the wildest flight story you're ever going to hear, courtesy of my man Ryan Hollins. All of that plus Julian Edelmanâ. Get triple action protection for optimal engine performance. Shell V-Power Nitro plus premium gasoline. It's a Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio. That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app. This is the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast. I'm Stephen A. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show. It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins joining forces today. It was a great first hour. Second hour going to be even better because not only where is LeBron going to go, but also the most harrowing flight story you're ever going to hear. Ryan was a part of it. Also, Bruce Bowen taking Kawhi Leonard to task. The Yankees just got swept. Got an enormous series against the Red Sox coming up at the end of this week. And plus, where we begin, and Julian Edelmanâ. Before we get to that, though, when's the last time you were at the game or concert? Go to vividseats.com/ESPN today for your exclusive discount offer. Vivid Seats, the official ticket partner of ESPN. You got calls for us? 1-888-SAY-ESPN. That's 1-888-729-3776. In true Dan Lebitard Show fashion, I have to find myself. And when we were talking about the NBA Award Show, I omitted the fact that Ryan Hollins will be a part of the NBA Award Show. So listen, please say what's up to Dwayne Casey for me tonight. Oh, are you kidding? Come on, man. I'm just going to be booing if LeBron's not the – I wouldn't do that to another guy. Player code. I can't break players code. Then I'm back in my player form. I'm not a part of the media anymore. I'm there as a player. Okay. I was going to say, once a player, always a player. We'll do some NBA awards talk in a second, but I do want to get a little NFL conversation in here, especially what's happening with Julian Edelmanâ. So the New England Patriots, who seem to be
such a polarizing team. When it comes to Tom Brady, you love him, you hate him. Bill Belichick, you love him, you hate him. When you think the Patriots are starting to stumble a little bit, they come back, and in the Super Bowl, the Eagles knock them off. But still, they're going to be a player. They always know that they're going to be involved when it comes to the best teams. And even this year, Ryan, when you look at them, and I start to say, well, particularly with receivers, they look a little bit vulnerable. And then when I hear this situation with Julian Edelmanâ, I say, well, they're really vulnerable. Who's going to be the guy to step up? So in the case of Edelman, potential suspension here when it comes to PEDs, but he is not taking this situation lying down. Edelman is going to come back fighting here against the NFL. So this is not a situation where a guy tests positive and all of a sudden he's going to get suspended and take the 4 games and move on. In Edelman's case, he's challenging it, and it's a vigorous appeal. The suspension appeal hearing is set for today, and what he's going to attack is the NFL's handling of the performance-enhancing substances, allegedly, right? So I'll break it down for you this way. He's 32 years of age, okay? He's a receiver who's been excellent for the Patriots, but then he gets popped. But his quote here is this. He's got outside counsel on this. He said, I'm very sorry. I don't know what happened. He wrote this on his Instagram. I've taken many, many tests, obviously, over the course of my career, and nothing like this has ever happened. If the suspension holds, he'd miss the first 4 games against the Texans, Jaguars, Lions, and Dolphins. But here's part of what he's challenging here. One is that the substance, which he was, I guess, tested positive for, wasn't necessarily on the list of banned substances. And more to the point, he doesn't like the handling of the substance. All right. So this now becomes a situation where you say, all right, whoever did the test, the protocol was not followed. It was contaminated, etc. It calls to mind, as the host of Baseball Tonight, what happened with Ryan Braun, in which he wasn't necessarily saying I'm innocent. He was saying, well, they didn't do the right protocol, that there was some tampering involved with the way that they got the substance. When you hear stories like this, Ryan, is your first impulse to say, yes, this can happen and a player should be exonerated if the substance in question was tampered with? Or do you say, that's a ridiculous defense, I don't buy it, you failed the test, move on?
Well, for one, I don't have enough to say what is or what isn't. I don't know the intimacies of what the man took and what showed up on his drug test. I will also let you know I failed a drug test in the NBA. Oh, yeah, I was dirty.
Wow.
I was riding dirty. And you want to know why I was dirty?
Why?
Cough medicine.
Oh,
Cough
come on.
medicine. Okay? Oh, you thought you were getting, you thought Ryan Hollins was on the juice? No, man. There's some cough medicine. Come on, Adnan. Come on, brother. But in the case of the NFL, I look at this one of two ways. In the past, oh man, he's guilty. He took something he shouldn't be doing. But the NFL has showed us such a flawed product, and they've gone so hard and been wrong and mishandled a lot of situations that I gotta give a second look to what Edelman is saying. And also, if you're Edelman, you can't be anywhere in the middle. Because if you hear me, if you're in the middle of things, you're unsure, I feel like you're guilty. You gotta go hard or go home, man. If you're gonna say you didn't do it, you gotta go all the way, man. He's gotta take this thing to the grave with him if he did. So I'm really torn, and I want to see how this thing develops. If he's doing everything he has, and the guy has a clean track record, I wouldn't know why all of a sudden he just becomes this dirty athlete, in his 30s. It just wouldn't make sense to me. But you never know what you never know, man. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. He could have been on the juice for a while, man. I don't know, Adnan. I'm very torn, man. I'm torn. The NFL is not putting me in a good place right now.
Yeah, here's the two issues. Monday Morning Quarterback reported this. The substance for which Edelman tested positive wasn't one the league's drug testers recognized, and the other issue, a mishandling of the documentation and delivery of the test results. During the course of the investigation, learned the NFL made mistakes in the manner in which the test results were handled. That's one of those situations, Ryan, where you say, all right, the guy was guilty, but listen, you tampered with it, okay? You didn't do it right. So if you did that, then I should be exonerated, or at the very least, not face 4 games. I should get 2 games. I know to some they say it's flimsy. You failed the test. No, but they didn't do it the right way. I'm out of here. I'm safe. I'm clean.
No, that's true. And if you've ever been drug tested by the league, I'm sure we have very, very similar protocols in the NBA. It's so tedious, bro. It's like, well, is this your name? Show me some ID, and then somebody else needs to confirm it's you. That's just how we start the test.
Right.
And then as you're choosing samples and cups, you have to put your hand on the cup. You've got to open the package. You've got to wash your hands clean of anything you have. You got to match the number. Does this match the container? Well, you need to put the sticker on the label and put it here. So if this process somehow was wrong, he should be exonerated. He should be. And not just that, the guy had been a clean athlete for so long. And that's why, I mean, Adnan, you got to understand me, bro. This is so tedious and so to the rules in the way that professional athletes, in the way that we are tested. I mean, it's almost embarrassing. Like, come on, dude, you know that's me. You see the numbers the same. Well, it's like, no, I need you to confirm with me that number is the same and this is your name and that you verify that you took this test today. It's very tedious, and it's that way for a reason. And if the NFL botched it, they botched something else, man. Let them free. Let them play.
Bottom line is this. You fight fire with fire. Just like that Ryan Braun situation. If you think you've been aggrieved, you go at him. But like the Ryan Braun situation, he was a lying cheat and a drug user and eventually committed his best. So that's why when I hear a dude say, tampering, I should be free, I'm like, yeah, that's what Ryan Braun was saying. And then all of a sudden he came out, yeah, my bad. It was my bad. So the Edelman appeal will be heard today. Hopefully we get some news later today. It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins in for Stephen A. Smith today on ESPN Radio. Let's shift back to more NBA conversation, and my man got paid, Carmelo Anthony. Not a surprise that he didn't want to decline the $27.9 million, the last year of that massive 5-year contract that he signed with the New York Knicks. But some people were hating on him, saying, all right, you're not worth the money, which obviously he's not. But listen to what Royce Young had to say. Thunder reporter, Ryan, he was on Golic and Wingo talking about Carmelo staying with the Thunder for at least one more year.
Carmelo has ceded control. He has basically said, I'm going to give control back to the Thunder, and they can decide my future. They can work a buyout with me. They can try to convince me to be traded somewhere because he still has his no trade clause, or they can use the stretch provision. So Carmelo's just giving up control back to the Thunder because he wants his money.
So you can't hate on the guy, obviously, for wanting his money. He signed the contract, and that's what Melo wants. But listen, even the biggest Carmelo Anthony fan in the world would tell you this was a disappointing season that he just suffered through. He's not worth that kind of money. I don't begrudge the guy for opting in. Of course, he's going to want his money, wants it to happen. But what are the odds, Ryan, you think he actually plays for the Thunder? What are the odds they just buy him out and say, all right, it didn't work?
Well, you've got to check his health. You got to understand he came late in the season. It wasn't ideal for any of those stars. You know, Russell Westbrook and Paul George, the way that they meshed it just wasn't great. And only you would know the intimacies of how Carmelo felt in that system, what he would look like coming back the next year, the direction of the team moving forward. So when you look at it, you can never knock a guy first off for taking his money. And if you're anybody, you're a complete fool if you got a problem and you think the guy doesn't deserve it, because when he actually got this contract, he deserved it. And he was a sought-after free agent, you know, and he deserves the money flat out. Like let's not even question this. You don't just take it back. You know, if you have a poor day at work or a poor month, I don't go in and say, man, we're reneging on your contract, man. We're taking that thing back. You can't feed your wife and kids for the month, you know. So nonetheless, he deserves that money, but it is an interesting situation. And if he gets bought out, is he a guy who chases LeBron James, takes less, you know, tries to get another championship? You know, that's an interesting deal too. What would he look like? What team would he want to go to if it's not with the Thunder? And what direction are they moving in? Because you got to give hats off to the Thunder too, as I alluded to in Houston. They went for it. They made a run. They took a risk, because Russell took a risk and stayed, and they tried to load up in Russell in his prime and giving him the pieces that he needed. Now, unfortunately, they get knocked off in the first round, but they took care of Russ because he took care of them, and he was one of the guys that signed back and stayed loyal.
Melo tweeting this, by the way, to all the haters. Oh, you mad, huh? Take a step back, evaluate what is important, and enjoy life. Hashtag stay Melo. Listen, my guy, he's taking the high road here.
And I mean, you gotta love that though, man. I mean, like, don't forget, like, this guy doesn't deserve, like, no one's ripping your money from you. Like, allow this guy to, like, he's taking care of his family. Like, he deserved that. Okay, he wasn't the greatest player. at this time and didn't have the $27 million production. He knows that. We all know that. He wants to be better, but Carmelo's a pro, man. He deserves the money. And if it wasn't from there, another team would have stepped up and gave him money. Adnan, can we not forget how sought after a free agent that Melo was? So obviously he couldn't produce like in the past, but he was much worth the risk. And you know what? Is that not why we call them risk, right? Or hey, they took a gamble on Melo. It's called a gamble, and it didn't work out. So you don't take the guy's money away. Oklahoma City knew what they were getting into when they got him.
The best point you have made today is the fact that nobody is stealing money from you to pay Carmelo Anthony. That's why I never understood when people got upset at players' salaries. Listen, the owners are making billions, so why are you so mad the players making millions? That you're not getting taxed in Oklahoma City just to fund Carmelo Anthony's salary. It's not affecting you. Is it affecting the team's ability to get other players? Okay, fine. I get that's why people get mad when it comes to cap restrictions and such. But I'm with you. I never understood why the average person gets so mad. How's he making $28 million? Because he is. It's not affecting you. Don't worry about it. He'll do his best. Maybe he'll get bought out.
And then, my brother, and this is one of the realest things I'm going to tell you on the show right now. That's a large reason of why I decided to go into broadcasting. There was too many times in the locker room or a situation would arise and I would hear myself or my teammates just absolutely get dogged. And we're in situations where we couldn't speak out. We couldn't have a voice. We couldn't talk to the people. Somehow we weren't real people. And I take this with all due respect. You had a lot of people throwing out very, very strong opinions who had never played the game. And I'm not saying that they can't have opinions, but sometimes they don't know what's going on in the locker room. And some things just got completely out of context. So you got to recognize, man, this dude has a family. And the way that we get paid, our money, that $27 million ain't getting spent this year. That's going to last Carmelo and his family the rest of his life. And he does amazing things in the community. So that's not $27 million in cars he's going to spend. That dude helps back and gives back, man. So that man deserves every bit of his hard work and his legacy and the grind that he's put forth, man. But like I said, man, a large point and reason why Ryan Hollins wants to come out and speak and sit here with Adnan, my twin, today and do the Stephen A. Smith show.
I love it. Twins. Coming up 15 minutes from now, we're going to tell you why LeBron James is not going to go to the Philadelphia 76ers. We also have Ryan Hollins' flight story. That's coming up in 5 minutes. I'm telling you right now, if you don't know it, you want to hang with us. Ryan Hollins' flight story in 5 minutes. Rappaport chimed in last hour. This is worth it. Your choice, dealer's choice. You want to go into LeVar Ball and the Lakers or Bruce Bowen and the Spurs? Your choice, my man.
I got a problem with Bruce right now.
Okay.
I love Bruce, but I got a problem with
Beautiful. I'll set that one up. So Bruce
I love
Bowen.
him, though. I swear I love him. Yes. I love him, though, but I got a problem with this.
Won 3 championships with the Spurs, one of the great defensive players of our era. Strong words about the Kawhi Leonard situation, and he's personally upset with the idea that the Spurs had anything other than Kawhi's best interests at heart. Listen, obviously Bruce has close ties to the Spurs organization. We all know that. He was very successful there, so there's no reason he shouldn't be, appreciative of what happened in San Antonio. But really coming at Kawhi here, and this has been a fascinating situation. No one better than someone like you, Ryan, who played in the NBA, who knows how delicate this situation is. I don't think the average listener can appreciate what it means, a person's health. And if you're not healthy, you can't go. And all these guys would love to play. The vast majority, of course, want to play. So it's really tricky when the team doctors are saying you're good to go and the player says, no, I'm not, and I don't appreciate you telling me that I am, and then the word gets out there and all of a sudden Kawhi Leonard is painted as selfish. He comes back and says the organization did not have his best interests at heart. If you believe the stories, he wants to get traded to the Lakers. Greg Popovich, I wouldn't exactly he's going hand on his knees, but he's definitely going to Kawhi saying, listen, let's try to solve this. Potentially we can give you 5 years, $205 million. At his best, Kawhi Leonard is an elite NBA player. What do you make, though, specifically of Bruce going at Kawhi?
Let's set the table now of Bruce going at Kawhi. Bruce Bowen, as we would call in the locker room, or we would even say now, he's a company man. We would refer to him as the Feds. He's a Spur for life, okay? And you call him the Feds because if you say something, there's a chance he's going to go back and tell the coach or the front office because I respect it. He's got to take care. He's a Spur. He's not going nowhere. If he wants to go into scouting or coaching or be a part of that fraternity, he's set up. Those guys, it worked for them, and I respect that. It worked for David. It worked for Bruce. It never worked for Ryan Hollins like that. I played for 9 different teams. So when they got into Spurs, they're Spurs for life. They're guys who took less money to win, and they've achieved great things. And it's really beautiful, and at the same time, extremely unique and rare when it actually happens in sports. And in the situation of what they had, that family environment, Kawhi Leonard didn't want to be a part of that. There's a Spurs thing in the middle of nowhere in poor little old Riverwalk, San Antonio, in which those guys don't go out and see the rest of the world. They stay in San Antonio and train and do everything they need to do within that time to be champions. And Kawhi Leonard said, you know what? I want to spread my wings. I want to grow. I want to know what the rest of the league is like. Pop, Spurs, thank you, because you guys made me who I am today, and now I have a right as a grown man, as an individual, to go out and play basketball. I want to address something else that was said. There's a key word you said, Adnan, that stuck out, that's glaring to me that people don't understand. The team doctors are going to do what's best for the team. The team doctors are going to tell Manu Ginobili if he can play or if he feels like he can play to get out on the court and play basketball, and he's done that. He's a guy who came into the league injured and played with half a knee and half an ankle his entire career, okay? That's just what happened. Tony Parker, all those guys made sacrifices, and I'm sure including Bruce Bowen, to play through injury and play when they weren't sure what their body was going to feel like because they had that type of commitment to the Spurs. Another example, the team psychiatrist is going to do what's in the best interest of the team. All that confidentiality stuff and whatever, and I swore an oath to keep what happens. It's the team psychiatrist, fellas. You got to know who the feds are. You got to know who's working for the team. You got to know who's snitching. Okay? And Bruce, I don't know if you're snitching. I'm not throwing that out to you like that, brother. But I know you're a Spur for life, and you're not going to say anything less. And I know through that lens, it worked for them, man, and they achieved amazing things. But Kawhi is just off it. Listen, I went to a Spurs free agent camp. This is one of the things that I had never seen in my life. A Spurs free agent camp where they got little old guys like Ryan Hollins who couldn't even get a sniff of training camp at the Spurs, who couldn't even get on the team. You know who was there, Adnan?
Who we got?
You know who was there?
Who we got?
There was a retired Tim Duncan. There was Manu. There was Tony. There was everybody in the organization there. The only guy who maybe had been missing was Gasol. Why? Because he was probably millions of miles away in Spain, okay, enjoying family. You know who wasn't there? You know who wasn't there, Adnan?
Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi wants to enjoy his summers like the rest of the normal NBA players. He doesn't want to drive a pickup truck in San Antonio for the rest of his life and go win championships like Tim Duncan. He's not that type of guy. He's quiet. He gets his job done on the court. He was just over it, man. In San Antonio, it's a family environment. It's cool. It's lovely. They've won, and guys buy in, and it helps out, but it don't work for everybody, okay? Kawhi is just over it, and he has a right to do that. And if he's not sure, as he goes into a contract year, if he's going to be the same guy, because guess what teams do? Look at Chris Paul right now. Look at Isaiah Thomas. When you're injured, the team is going to use that against you and say, we're not giving you that mega max because we don't know the type of player that you are. And if he steps on the floor injured and he puts himself at risk, ain't nobody else paying them bills, dog. That's all I'm saying, Adnan. So you mad at Cole. Like, Adnan, am I wrong? You mad at, let me put you on TV, Adnan, with laryngitis. All right? You know what I'm saying? Who's this little Ryan Hollins looking guy on TV messing stuff up, man? Get him off the air.
There's no
Get
doubt.
him off the air, man.
There's no doubt. Nobody wants to go at not 100%. And you're right. I would try to be a gamer. I'd try to fight through the laryngitis until you told me
gosh.
you sound horrendous. Get off the air. You're hurting my product. I'm going to stop watching these because of you. All right. Coming up 5 minutes from now, we're going to do LeBron James, and Ron Hunt's going to tell you why I'm crazy, and anybody in Philadelphia who thinks he's going to go to the Sixers is absolutely crazy. But you got 2 solid minutes. Flight story. Go.
We heard this story already. The guy tries to open the door, and I want to address 2 big things. So a lot of people are saying you can't open the door if you wanted to. Do you want to take that risk? Do you want to watch a guy with a glazed over face take the risk and put profusely through yelling, through screaming, trying to open the door? 2, when you see something happening, there's a fight or flight aspect in which people die, and it's within a snap of a wrist. And when it went down, Michael Rappaport, instead of sitting back and chilling, reacted. Baron Davis did a ninja flip over this seat. You got to understand, this is a guy 6'5" with his lap on, and there's this poor Japanese guy sitting next to him, and he flips, and he rips his pants and flips the guy. I don't know how he gets out of the window seat in first class over closed trays and got up there so fast. And Michael Rappaport, as much as he talks, as much as he goes off, he's about he's about that life. He's about everything that he speaks of and says, and the guy was ready to save ours. And maybe he could have opened, maybe it couldn't, but I know that Michael acted, and he's an absolute hero no matter what anybody says. Now, too, I want to address right now, and I hope this is legal, I hope this is out. There's a couple things that went down, which is why this guy did this on purpose. One, he timed it perfectly until the flight attendant moved, and the guy ran to the front as soon as the attendant moved. Two, he perfectly positioned himself in a seat right behind first class that had nothing in front of him. You know that seat that kind of oddly sits out? He was in that seat. Three, as Michael Rappaport yelled and screamed at him profusely, the man did not stop. Number four, you came in that door, my dude. So you know you can't exit out that door mid-flight. And if you look through that window, you see nothing but sky and not a toilet. He knew what he was doing. Five, he had a look on his face as it just, he was glazed over, man. He was a guy ready to hop off of a bridge. If you've ever seen somebody suicidal or somebody look like they didn't have nothing to live for, that was the look on his face. And I'm upset because I got some kids to go back to. And you had intentions of not just killing yourself, but you didn't care about myself and the women and children. And there were infants on that plane, dude. That dude is selfish, man. And I don't know if you can take action. You can't. I don't know the rules and regulations, but that man should never be allowed to fly again. And Michael Rappaport is a hero, whether he could have opened the door or not, because he acted. And in that split second, if there's an act of terror, it's those heroes like that step up and save lives, man. I'm dead serious. That dude is a darn hero. He saved our lives, whether that door could have opened or not, and he acted. And I am thankful to God of what he did. I know we're laughing about it, we're joking about it. He's playing the song, "If You Only Know That You're My Hero." He's doing all that deal. But Michael Rappaport, as it went down, it was as real as it can be, man. And that man acted, and Mike Hill acted, and Barron flipped over the seat, and you got 7 feet and 400 pounds between me and Glenn Davis, and we're sitting there figuring out what's going on, man.
No, thank God, you're right. Everything did work out in the end, but that is a crazy story, and you're right. Players going to step up, and thank God everything turned out okay. LeBron to the Sixers. Ryan Hollins says that's madness. We'll explain why next. Adnan Virk and Ryan in for Stephen A. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio.
You're listening to the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
With Ryan Hollins, I'm Adnan Virk. We're in for Stephen A. today on ESPN Radio. We'll close with some Yankees-Red Sox talk, plus some father and son movies just about 10-15 minutes from now. But back to the story that everyone's talking about, and that is LeBron James and what's going to happen. In the first hour of the program, we discussed why Los Angeles is particularly tantalizing, especially if Paul George joins up there. We got some information, by the way, on the pitch to Paul George in just a minute or two. But the one that I think has legs, and now Ryan Hollins is telling me I'm nuts, is Philadelphia. And I'll make the case here. You've got Ben Simmons, you got Joel Embiid, two young stars. You're in the East. We all know that's the inferior conference. If you go there, you weaken Cleveland immediately. All you really have to worry about is the Celtics and Brad Stevens. They won 55 games without Gordon Hayward. Kyrie Irving got hurt in March. Obviously, they're going to be formidable, but that's the one real opponent you have to topple. And at least you've got pieces, and you say, all right, let's get through the Celtics, and then we face the Warriors in the finals and take our chances and go from there. It's a team on the rise, and they're in the East. That's why I talk myself into it. Hollins thinks I'm crazy. Ryan, why?
And then that's the third time I threw up in my mouth. You want to bring this up again? Come on, man.
It's a good thing we're not in the same studio, by the way. Yeah.
No, it's a good thing. I'd be in the trash can, and I'd be looking at myself because we look exactly the same. I'm looking in the mirror when I talk to you, brother. But if you break this down, let me ask you something. Let me help you come along, because this is the first time you're disagreeing with me, and I'm disappointed, okay?
Help me see the light.
Would it be safe to say that Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons' best basketball will be down the line, maybe 3 and 4 years ahead if healthy?
Absolutely.
When does LeBron James need to win?
Needs to win right now. 33 years old, coming off potentially the best season of his career. Go ahead.
When Ben Simmons is on the floor, what position does he play?
Listen, yeah, he's the point guard. But listen, LeBron can play off the ball. They can do other things.
Whoa. So you want to take the greatest player of all time, and if you want to argue the best player in the NBA, you can't question that. Numbers don't lie, okay? If you don't agree with me on one, you're going to agree on the other. Off of the basketball, you want to make him J.J. Redick? You're telling me you're going to get the best out of him, Adnan, with him being J.J. Redick?
If there's one thing you know about LeBron, he's a great player who's willing to do whatever it takes to win. So he's obviously an amazing facilitator.
You didn't answer the question, Adnan. You didn't answer the question.
He's not going to be J.J. Redick. He's going to give the ball sometimes, but sometimes he doesn't have to have the ball.
He doesn't have to have the ball, so then what's Ben Simmons going to do when his man sits in the paint because he refuses to shoot the basketball?
You can make it work is my point, because if both guys are invested in winning, which of course I would assume they would be, Simmons can say, fine, you want me to play off the ball? I can do that for stretches. LeBron, you want LeBron me to post up guys? Whatever you want, sure.
So as far as making it work, you think that's just going to work in 1 year, in one training camp?
Yes.
You don't think that's more of a process to go? You think, Adnan, that's going to work in 1 year?
Yes, you trust the process, you make it work. Brett Brown, your boy, he can make it work.
I love what Brett Brown has done. And even bigger, I love that Philly committed to that man. They committed to him for what he's done, and he's done an excellent job. But he's not enough. It was masterful, because I want to give Brett Brown some credit also, that he had the kahunas, to look at Ben Simmons and say, Ben, starting point guard. Ben Simmons, you know what? Starting point guard. He put Ben Simmons in the best situation to be successful. He didn't make him the center. He didn't make them the two guard. He didn't say, you got to shoot the basketball. He said, do what you do best and you will be successful. And now people are comparing this guy to LeBron and Magic Johnson, who he is not. And he's great at what he does. He's one of the best. He's a freak of nature, man. It's just rare that you see guys that tall, that big, with that type of motor that can handle and distribute. But it doesn't fit with another guy who's better at what he does. Now you hurt Simmons. Or you hurt LeBron. Adnan, you don't see this. You're hurting each other, man. This is hurt. This is not peanut butter and jelly. You're putting two peanut butter sandwiches together. Who wants a peanut butter on peanut butter sandwich, Adnan?
So you think the fit just doesn't work. You love the Lakers because he can be the man, and you think Paul George is coming along for the ride, at least, if not Kawhi Leonard as well.
Let me speak facts. When LeBron, and I'm going to ask you this, when LeBron James got to Cleveland, did he get to handpick his guys?
Listen, you're coughing it up right now, but yes.
Yeah, I'm still throwing up from that Philly stuff. So it's safe to say he knew his secret to success, right? He knew what he needed, right?
100%.
So if you give him another empty roster, would it be safe to say that he would know what he needed? Because LeBron made a big-time move by saying, Andrew Wiggins, you got to go. Kevin Love, come on here now. Would it be safe to say he could do that again in L.A. with an empty roster? We've seen it before. And what do the Lakers have more of? In cap space, and also young talent, young assets.
Hang on, is that young talent as good as it is? Because that's the other part of this. Do you think, okay, let's say this, LeBron goes there, no Paul George. Where's that team in the playoffs, Ryan? 7 seed, 8 seed? They're not beating the Warriors. They're not beating the Spurs. They're not beating the Rockets.
Great point. No Paul George is a problem. No Kawhi Leonard is a problem. But it's safe to say, maybe from a little birdie in Ryan Hollins' ear, maybe for conversations I had, maybe from my sources that I'm pretty much 99.9% sure that Paul George will be a Laker. Okay, unless there's some amazing thing that happens, some miracle of faith, Paul George wants to come home. Paul George wants to be a Laker. Okay, and I'm gonna leave you with that. So now, keep in mind also, I'm gonna drop a little dime here too.
Sure.
I'm gonna give you something else. We're playing in an era of tanking, in which teams are willing to quit on their seasons darn near a month or 2 months into the season, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yep.
So within that, you have an effect by teams that are going to actually trying to win. You got a lot of guys who you may not see now, Adnan, but that are going to be available before the trade deadline. that are going to be up, and the team just saying, hey, you want to go win? We want the freedom. And the Lakers are saying, we'll take on those big contracts so that you can win now, LeBron. So the rest of the league, I guess if you want to thank Philly in their process, can even help LeBron get even better and help those guys go out and join him.
In case you're wondering how LA is going to get him, SI.com has obtained an apparent recruiting pitch from the Lakers to Paul George. The script is in the form of a voiceover and references Palmdale. That's a city north of Los Angeles where George grew up. As Ryan just mentioned, he wants to go home. George also played college basketball at Fresno State. That's about 3 hours north of Palmdale. The script is called Two Dreams, and it says the following. When you were just a kid in your room dreaming from Palmdale, we were dreaming too. While you dreamt, we built for your arrival. And while we dreamt, you built too, becoming one of the world's greatest. Life's most powerful dream are the one we realize ourselves, the ones that turn us into legends. That kid from Palmdale always knew it. Now the world will too.
You know what? I never got one of those pitches in free agency. You know, I got the calls July 1st. I got the calls. I got the texts. But that might be one of the corniest things. I hope you don't need to script that. You're the Los Angeles Lakers, okay? I hope that you don't need to script something. Well, Paul, this is a dream come true. We've been planning. You've been planning.
That birdie who told you Paul George is going to LA, that birdie just flew away. That was too cheesy.
My God.
That was too cheesy for Paul George to go to LA.
I hope that you're going to take Magic Johnson. He's going to go out to a nice little dinner. Hopefully LeBron James is sitting with them. More than likely what us players do, they're texting and talking already. The deal was done a long time ago. You know, just guys don't hear it. Guys don't know it. But that's what your agent does behind the scenes. He's also moving and going, Paul George, you want to win down? LeBron, you want to win now? All right, no-brainer. Kawhi, let's make a run for Kawhi too. Guys, let's load up. Those are guys at a stage in their career, Adnan.
Yeah.
In your 30s in the NBA, you start looking around. You've made your money. I can't say that I ever really made my money, but I got to a point where I say, I ain't going to be a part of this tanking stuff no more. I want to go win. And you're willing to sacrifice money for happiness to an extent. The second year that I signed back with the Los Angeles Clippers, keep in mind I'm just little Orion Hollins, I didn't even want to sniff free agency. I want to stay home. I want to win. I want to be happy. Okay, you didn't need to make a pitch to me, okay? And sometimes these things are no-brainers, you know? So, Adnan, like when they called you up and they said you could be working with your twin on the Stephen A. Smith show, are you available? Yeah, that's a no-brainer.
It is a no-brainer. You're right, man. Coming up next, why MLB is now adopting the NBA approach when it comes to elite teams, plus great father and son movies. It's Adnan Virk and Ryan Hollins, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio.
Guess what?
You're in the middle of the Stephen A. Smith Show podcast.
Damn it, I mean it!
Got to give some love and throw some roses over to Mike and Mike. Mike Greenberg and Mike Golick will be inducted into the National Radio Hall of Fame. Thrilled for both those guys, as I'm sure Ryan Hollins is as well. I'm Adnan Virk. Yes. We're in for Stephen A. Smith today. Also, check out my podcast, Cinephile. It's on the ESPN app and on iTunes. The most recent pod, we talked about the best father and son movies, Field of Dreams, The Godfather, Hollins' favorite, The Pursuit of Happiness with your boy Will Smith, right?
Oh, yeah, hands down, man. I mean, how much more of a father can you be? The wife walks out on you. I still don't like her. You got to take your kid. You're living in the crack, and then you work your way up. Hey, son, we're not giving up, and hey, let's imagine we had food tonight. Come on, Will. I mean. You had to, if you didn't cry, you did one at the end of the movie, one of the look-offs, you know, kind of the face where, oh man, are you crying? No, I'm not crying.
Just something in my eye. ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance with more than 30 unique coverage options available. Progressive knows small business. Learn more at progressivecommercial.com. I know Hollins was locked into baseball tonight, last night, myself, Jim Bowden, John Farrell. We're talking about the Yankees and Sox. Yankees just lost 3 straight to the Rays, which no one saw coming. They're now just percentage points ahead of Boston in the AL East. Yankees, Red Sox this weekend. Both teams on pace to win 100 games each. But one of those teams is not going to win the East. One of them is going to be in the wild card, which is crazy because then they're going to face maybe the Mariners, who are a juggernaut this year. The Astros, I think, win the West. The Indians win the Central. But does it all feel to you a little bit unfair, Ryan? Because now the MLB's become like the NBA. Now you've got these super teams, particularly in the American League, with the Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, three juggernauts. It's kind of like the West now in the NBA. One of them is only going to have one game to prove their best. Does it seem at all unfair to you that you play 162, you win 100 games, and then you got to play one game and you could be done?
That's horrible. It's not good for the sport. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's a little too much too late. And you know what? If I'm not mistaken, baseball was far ahead of the rest of the leagues when it came to this super team stuff, man, with their salary cap. You could gas it all up. And this is just a recipient. Happens to the best of them, man. I remember in the West, you would have had to have 50 wins and you could even miss the playoffs. So this is a very, very tough deal.
Yankees-Sox going to be a ton of fun this weekend. I went to the Yankees-Mariners game Wednesday. Crowd was electric. The games are always a ton of fun. Always a ton of fun hanging with Ryan Hollins. Thanks so much, my man.
Oh, brother, it was a blast, man. You were too much, man. I'm still excited, man. I'm still fired up.
Twins, enjoy the NBA Awards show tonight. I'm Adnan Virk. Stephen A. Smith will be back tomorrow 1 to 3 here on ESPN Radio. That's Ron Hollins yelping. I'm Adnan Virk. Thanks so much for listening. We appreciate it.
Peace.
Aaron Donald, Julio Jones, Von Miller, Le'Veon Bell. Pick from one of those four guys to start your NFL franchise. That's on the Will Cain Show right after Stephen A.
That's just a sample of what you'll hear on the Stephen A. Smith Show. Weekdays at 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN Radio and the ESPN app.